Video presentation of leadership, knowledge, and skills. The Principalship, 14659 EDA 6503 202301. Dr. Annetta Walker, April 23rd, 2023.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, Donald. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing fine yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just excited to see you here, sir. We've had a long day, and it's refreshing to have you come into the office so that we can have that one-on-one time so we can expand upon our knowledge. Can you tell me how you feel today?
Today, I'm feeling fine. It was a good day. Kids are being kids like usual, but I think it was a pretty decent day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I really enjoy our students, but I really enjoy the way that our teachers are engaging with our students. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our my walkthrough that I did last week with our evaluation. But I wanted to start with saying that I really enjoy the content that you have for our students. You really seem to want to have them be enriched by the content.
Yeah, I'm passionate about the content. I've been doing it for a long time, so I'm glad they're getting something out of it.
Oh, yes. Well, that's one of the things we're going to look at. How do you feel your evaluation went?
Probably pretty well. Most of my evaluations have gone pretty well, so I'm assuming it's been about the same.
I can assume the same. We just want to look at some of the district initiatives that we have. For example, we have our students. We want them to be at least 40% participation with almost. Let's see, about 40% of our instruction time with student interaction. And I noticed that you did a great job with your slides, but the majority of your time was talking, so about 80% with questions at the end. Can you tell me how you feel about that?
Well, it's worked in the past. I think it's important that it is content first, content driven, that, we got certain things we need to get to these kids and they learn it. And then, checking the information at the end always seems to have gone pretty well for me.
Awesome. We're just looking at some data now where we want to keep the engagement of our students very high so that we can go into something called higher order questioning, where we can go into the analytical and evaluative questions model within our Bloom's taxonomy. And one of those things that we want to see happen is our teachers who are using our PowerPoint presentations restructure some of their PowerPoint presentations with questions in between each slide. So one, they check for understanding, and two, they can evaluate whether they're going too fast or too slow, or we're able to scaffold differently for different lessons. Have you ever done anything of that nature, Donald?
Not particularly. The PowerPoints, I update them, but, they're been pretty consistent for a good number of years now.
Well, I really enjoy that. They get to the meat. But what we want to do is we want to be able to engage our students just a little bit more so that they can not only reproduce the information, but build upon it. And one of our things that we did at the beginning was our professional development and technology incorporated in the classroom. Do you remember? Hello?
He'll be right back. I'm just going to pause it. Yeah.
You were saying?
This meeting is being recorded.
Do you remember our technology professional development we had at the beginning of the year?
Yes, I remember that.
And so all we're asking is that we're still going to use the same content that you have in your classroom, especially for your slides, but we're going to make it more digitalized so that students can follow along and do something called an interactive notebook. Ms. Clara does this down the hall from you, and hopefully during your PLCs we can dive deeper into building an interactive notebook so that not only are students interacting with each other and the classroom, but they have that concrete context of your lesson as well. Have you worked with any interactive notebooks before?
Past what we did in the professional development stuff, not very much, no.
No problem. We have some ongoing professional developments within our PLCs that we're going to incorporate over the next semester. so that we can build upon our knowledge on these graphic organizers and the different ways that we can incorporate student interaction. Um, One of the suggestions, again, goes back to having your PowerPoint just be restructured where students have access to it. And if you have one of the technologies such as iPads or if they're following along in Canvas, um, like Ms. Sarah, she can show you how to set this up. On each slide, you can have a probing question that will allow the student to answer while you're going along. And if you have your classroom set up with your small groups or your peer-to-peer teaching, then you have the interaction between each student so that not only are they getting the content from you, but they're building upon their peers as well. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it sounds interesting. I mean, two things kind of popped in my head. I think it seems like we're adding some valid things to try to get the kids engaged, but that's going to be cutting into content time that I'm getting worried that I might not be able to get all that same content in if I have to worry about these other engagement points.
Now, I don't want you to be overwhelmed, and I promise what we're doing is we're actually cutting the content time in half to engage your students even more. With these probing questions, they actually lead to more of your content in your slides. For example, you may be going on a sequence where you're going through content in your own slide too, but the probing questions pull questions from their prior knowledge and their content knowledge and goes into slide 10. So you're actually surpassing some of your content because they already have that understanding, and that allows them to not get off task, that allows them to be more engaged. And then they can get those higher order thinking questions for accelerated learning for some of our students. And then that allows the freedom for some students to just follow you as you teach with your slides and go along at that same pace. So in a sense, you're scaffolding for differentiated instructions for more students on our accelerated path and then our traditional students who are following along with you and getting that content.
Interesting. I mean, I'd be interested to see how that works. Obviously, I'm skeptical with adding in more question time, but still getting the same content. But I think I'm following what you're saying.
Now, Ms. Sarah, again, she's very, very versed on this. Can I put you in our PLC, which is an ongoing training for the incorporation of our technology? So that I don't want you to feel as though you're not ready for this. I want to build you up as much as possible because I feel as though not only are you an amazing teacher, but you can show our students and model the expectations that we change and we adjust and we do better with the technology that we're given.
I mean, I'm interested to hear it out. Yeah, I mean, I'd be glad to be put in that.
Of course, and I really appreciate your willingness to be there. I'll be there as well because I'm learning this as well. I had a training over the summer, but I want to be able to see how our teachers view it as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. It's definitely challenging with the district changing policies and initiatives every couple of years. So trying to keep up with their expectations of us has definitely been challenging.
I will have to say that your expectation of our students is actually higher than our districts because you care about the content. You are always aligning your students to the our standards, and all this is just the same thing that you do now, structured just a little bit differently so that our students can build upon it even more. All I'm here to do is help motivate you to become better than the day before, and I just want to be a part of that transition with you.
I mean, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in hearing what this new technology is and how we can, wrap it into this my coursework.
Yes, sir. And even with the review part, there are different strategies that we go with in our scaffolding where we look back on previous knowledge. They do the same thing you do with your PowerPoint. You can do a game called Jeopardy. I know you probably understand Jeopardy.
Oh yeah, goodness yes.
So it's one of those things that you can even use PowerPoint to incorporate a Jeopardy game, or we have an online platform called Kahoot where it allows the students to visit some structuring questions or probing questions, and then we have some activities where we have students actually get up and engage each other in something called a classroom scavenger hunt, where you post your information around the classroom and they have to use the graphic organizer that you give them
This meeting is being recorded.
I apologize. But it's just a classroom scavenger hunt where you can even print out your slides, put them on the classroom walls where the students can get up and walk around, and they'll answer those questions based on the information you provide on the slides. And what it does, it allows you to see the students' interaction in action, and you won't have to stand up and talk as much. So that you can see how you can structure maybe different things or different aspects of your classroom with more student interaction. And again, Ms. Sayers is our point of contact for that. And again, that'll be a part of the ongoing training in our PDs within our PLCs for incorporating technology. Are you okay with that, Mr. Donald?
Yeah, I'm always interested to see what it is, and if I can figure out ways to incorporate that, I'm not opposed to it.
I really appreciate it. Are there any questions for me, sir?
I don't think so. I think you covered most of them.
I really appreciate you being here today, and I hope that you go out and teach our students even more.
I appreciate that.
This meeting.
So during that presentation, I identified some strengths and some weaknesses. Some of my strengths, even I can still work on them, is I allowed the person to feel welcomed and valued as an educator throughout the entire evaluation process. We had a constant narrative of you are already a phenomenal teacher. We're just taking what you already do phenomenally and restructuring it. So not only does it fit the district's protocol, but it allows you to be elevated in an already elevated situation so that we can see that teacher breaking grounds with the technology, with the other types of incentives, with the restructuring of the classroom so that you can have a higher student engagement. So the educator felt valued because it wasn't taking away or adding to their plate. It was just restructuring their plate. The suggestions were not diminishing the efforts of the educator, but allowed them to enhance the educator's practices. The overall feel was productive and looked for ways to work with the educator and not just add to their plate, but redistribute the workload in a way that would highlight the educator's talents. Again, I don't ever want to diminish an educator because this field is not easy, and anybody who is able to push content first should be celebrated. And whenever we have those small things such as the student times of student engagement to be increased, all we do is restructure what they already do so that not only are we fitting these new parameters, but we're giving them a new set of skills for their tool belt for future classes. Weaknesses. I need to allow the educator the ability to lead more discussion in their viewpoint of the evaluation with specific evidence notated. Um, I was very good at giving strategies, but I needed to make sure that I tied it to the evidence that I saw in the evaluation. For example, if I saw him standing up talking and pointing out specific slides, I should have been able to say, well, on slide 4, you had the opportunity to go into more discussion with a probing question, such as such, so that I can give specific feedback. Or, for example, they went to slide 7 and you had one student raise their head and you said, hey, we were going to answer questions at the end, but that was an opportunity for you to engage with student dialogue so that deeper understanding could be established. When giving, and another part of the weakness was when giving strategies and input, I need to have a timeline and plan in order for follow up and implementation. I gave strategies, I gave opportunities to work with other teachers. But going back to the specifics of, hey, here's a week interval, here's what we need to do at week 1. We are doing this over the course of a semester. This is an ongoing training, but here you should have this type of understanding, or you should be at this threshold for competency by week 1, week 2, week 3. I'll do check-ins. I told him, and I wanted to make sure that he understood that I would be with him during this interaction and during these trainings so he would not feel alone. So not only is he learning in an atmosphere surrounded by his peers, but he can see his leader modeling those expectations. Um, the follow up could have been in increments of maybe 2 weeks or every 2 weeks or maybe once a month, or follow up in a PLC with just verbal. But then there is a need to see the difference between this evaluation that we had just done and another evaluation in a professional setting, so that you can see the growth and that follow up and those implementation strategies playing out for their classroom. I had to keep the atmosphere open with my suggestions so not to cause anxiety and the need to address issues in an emergency fashion, but as a solution over time and with guided steps for success. Again, I'm not there to stress the educator out. I'm just there to help guide them with more opportunities for growth. Um, Creating an action plan for my leadership improvement, I wanted to use the SMART model, which is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Specific, we learn to tie back evidence with an evaluation critique, determine the why for the needed change, if it's not only because of the district's initiative, but because of the student-centered growth that we're looking for. And just like before, to create a follow-up timeline for future evaluations. In the follow-up, express the differences from each evaluation, show how the educator has improved with specific comments toward the evaluation observed. So again, citing the evidence and say, okay, I saw in this new evaluation there is there's a probing question being placed every 3 slides. There are guided slides along, so the students who are able to click through and understand the content fairly well can answer these probing questions to fidelity and accelerate with the classroom content. And it also allows students who maybe need a little extra help with the content, they can ask more questions if they're seated in different small group interactions. So, specifically looking for these things, and again, allowing them a heads up for this is a part of that. So, uh, another part of measurable is creating a survey that addresses aspects of the evolution the educator enjoyed and where clarification is needed. So, let the educator say, hey, based on your strategies, I enjoyed learning these skills, knowing these skills. Um, Let them explore, say, hey, I would like to learn some other skills. Or can you clarify what you mean by higher order question? Giving them that format where even if they're in that moment of an evaluation, they may have questions, but they don't feel comfortable asking them, but allowing them to have that follow up opportunity of their own accord where they can be very transparent and ask for clarification is another measurable thing that I can do for evaluations and improving my leadership. Achievable, creating a specific leadership accountability rubric that follows the STICS approach when evaluating educators. Using this rubric consistently to establish a solid foundation for all educators' expectations. So, the STICS is kind of like the SMART model itself, but it's specific for the evaluation. So, the S stands for specific, the T stands for tied to evidence, the I is include action steps, The C is check for follow up, and the K is kindly deliver. And so I'll follow these specific guidelines when doing the evaluations. Um, Realistic is operate with the mindset of grace as I am developing the best things to remain. Is transparent. So with my educators, engaging in conversation about sticks, which are the specific things I'm looking for within evaluating, and use the data from the survey to culture the development of my leadership skills. So using everything that is being put in place as a functioning aspect for creating better leadership skills. And that comes to our time bound. The Leadership Foundation within Team Dynamics take time, so allowing the cycle of communication. We collect feedback, I analyze data, and then we implement change. This should happen every 3 months, but that cycle is a constant. So we communicate, we collect feedback, we analyze data, we implement change, and with that change, we communicate more, we collect feedback, we analyze data, and we implement even more change to go along with that, so that it's an ongoing process. It's not just a one and done. It's a constant sense of communication, a constant sense of growth as we effectively look at our exchange of ideas and our collaboration with each other. My desirable outcomes as a leader, I want to maintain a high standard of professionalism that encourages ambitious collaboration with goal achievement as a focus. I should be decisive and adaptive for the multitude of responsibility I will take on. My educator should hold me accountable with their expectation as I take ownership of delegated responsibilities and the directions it is being led. I will be able to give credit and praise to my teammates in our endeavors towards student centered success and professional growth. All of this is just to say that we're here for our students and we want to make sure that they are our focal point for growth. If that means that the educator is going to grow more with different professional developments or skill sets that are being implemented or technology initiatives, all of that is for our students and their success.